Convicted.
There's no shock here.
A Windsor man found guilty of terrorism. Trump's tariffs in full effect.
The tariff on Canada is a tax on the American people.
Doug Ford on the most disliked politician in the world. And desperate need of donations.
It is dire. We do want to keep all of the services of the Windsor Youth Center going.
A community outreach program in jeopardy.
CTV News with Stefanie Masotti.
Good evening and thank you for joining us, and hello to those listening to us on AM 800. A young man from Windsor has been convicted of terrorism. 22-year-old Seth Bertrand was charged with a single count of participating in a terrorist group. Joining me with our top story tonight is CTV's Michelle Molesky. Michelle.
Stefanie, Bertrand was found guilty this morning by Justice Maria Caracia. But let's take a look back at how we got here. This all started back in 2021. Back then, Bertrand was under investigation by Windsor police for a series of mischiefs and vandalism. In one incident, he slashed the tires of a same-sex couple in the city and threw a brick at their home with a note that said, "The Adam Waffen knows where you are." He also threw a clutch through the front window of the We Trans support office. As police investigated these incidents, officers realized Bertrand had also submitted an online application to join the terrorist group National Socialist Order, or Adam Waffen Division. He used the media coverage of those mischief incidents as examples of what he could do for the organization. Today, he was convicted of terrorism as a result. 22-year-old Seth Bertrand had no comment as he raced from Superior Court Thursday. He had just been found guilty of terrorism because he applied online to join the Adam Waffen Division, which is on Canada's list of terrorist entities. Applying to join and offering to enhance their cause is enough to constitute terrorism, the federal prosecutor says.
It's not necessary that the activity actually be carried out or that he knows the specific activity that will ultimately be carried out.
Justice Maria Caracia ruled Bertrand knew AWD is a terrorist group. He offered his skills in the military to them and admitted he shared their views of white supremacy.
This was a legal question as to whether or not it was caught as criminal conduct.
The defense argued there was no written proof that AWD is a terrorist group, or any proof that AWD is the same as the National Socialist Order. They further argued that filling out an online application is not the same thing as taking actions on behalf of the group. The judge disagreed. The accused espoused the ideology that was anti-Semitic, anti-Black, and anti-LGBTQ, Justice Caracia said. He indicates in the application that he filed to join AWD-NSO that he wants to be a part of a group that is doing things.
Obviously, he's disappointed to a degree that he was convicted and that this will continue to hang over his head and that there's the possibility of incarceration. But, you know, there's no shock here. There's no feeling like you weren't heard.
The maximum penalty for participation in terrorism, in this country is 10 years in prison. However, there isn't a lot of case law or precedent for terrorism, as it's all relatively new. We'll dig into that part of the story, Stefanie, later in Happening Now.
Okay, Michelle Molesky with our top story tonight. Thank you. In other news, Donald Trump is bragging today about the billions of dollars a month that will flow into U.S. coffers as more than 60 countries feel the pain of today's latest round of reciprocal tariffs. We are already seeing backlash, with countries pushing back and moving away from trade with the states. CTV's Michael Couture now on the impact on Canada and the global response.
Yes, we're having discussions with the Americans.
Prime Minister Carney wouldn't say when he'll next speak to U.S. President Donald Trump, but Ontario's premier didn't mince words when asked about how Canadians see the American leader.
He's probably the most disliked politician in the world in Canada.
In an interview on CNN, Doug Ford tried to explain to Americans that these tariffs are hurting them.
When you see 37,000 Americans have lost their jobs, that can't pay the rent or can't pay a mortgage, put food on their table, and this is just going to grow even more.
A new report from Yale University shows the current tariffs will hit American consumers.
We're expecting an adjustment of about over $2,000 to, their real household income and sort of purchasing power.
The impact could be felt in back-to-school shopping, as the tariffs will make shoes 40% more expensive, and the price of other clothes will rise by 38% because of import duties. Meantime, the impact on Canada's economy is being measured by the Royal Bank. In June, 92% of Canadian exports crossed into the U.S. duty-free because they are covered under the current trade agreement, leaving 8% subject to punishing tariffs.
That portion of trade is unfortunately facing an average tariff rate of 30%.
Still, the overall impact on the Canadian economy is relatively small at this point, but sectors like steel and aluminum continue to suffer. While campaigning ahead of his by-election in Alberta, Pierre Poilievre criticized Carney's handling of the trade talks.
He's been bending over backwards for the president and so far has gotten nothing in return.
Now, Prime Minister Carney continues to say he will speak to the U.S. president when it makes sense, but there is no clear indication of exactly when that could be. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
And citing Donald Trump's tariffs, auto giant Toyota is predicting a huge hit to profits, the biggest the industry has seen. The Japanese automaker expects a loss of nearly $14 billion on cars imported into the U.S. Toyota also cut its expected full-year operating profit by 16%. Industry rival GM projects a tariff loss of $5 to $7 billion, while Ford expects a $4 billion hit. Ricardo joining me now with more local reaction on this. Ricardo.
Yeah, Stephanie, the view from Windsor is thank goodness for this Canada-U.S.-Mexico free trade deal. Of course, that is the CUSMA deal, as we call it now. It used to be the old NAFTA. Now, as long as that agreement is honored, the impacts of the new tariffs should be blunted. But that's not to say they're not being felt already, more so from the sectoral tariffs than these across-the-board tariffs. And Windsor-Essex Chamber of Commerce head Ryan Donnelly says the key issue now remains that uncertainty the volatile trade landscape creates.
The entire manufacturing sector is really slowed down. There isn't new projects coming on the shop floor, so that's the biggest concern right now, is that uncertainty is not leading to more products being delivered and projects being executed across Windsor-Essex. You know, the fact that this trade negotiation is taking a little bit longer, I'm not that concerned about it. I'd rather see them hammer out a good quality deal for Canada and the United States, for both countries.
Now, retail has seen some softening as well in the region, but Donnelly adds the Buy Canadian movement has helped to offset some of the impacts of tariffs, and he's encouraging you to spend your dollars on Main Street also instead of at an online behemoth to help keep that momentum going, Steph.
Okay, Ricardo, thank you for this. CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joining us now for the first look at the weather from the top of the Bell Building, where it is warm. Gary.
It is warm. It's warm in the suit and tie, but you know what? It's not too bad. It's humid today, but not oppressively so. And the air quality has improved a touch. The winds picked up to usher some of that filthier, smoke-laden air out of our region. There's still traces of it, no doubt, but it's not as bad as it was over the weekend in the last few days. Not much to see across the radar, save for some storms that are actually just over my shoulders. I look to southeastern Michigan, Detroit. There's a cumulonimbus cloud with a spreading anvil. That's a thunderstorm, but it's a daytime heating example. It's just going to sit there and percolate. Rain and thundery weather there. Meanwhile, we are in the clear. We'll see more of the same perhaps tomorrow afternoon. Daytime heating, a trigger for late day storms. And we're likely to be hot enough tomorrow. I'll break down what you need to know just ahead.
The Windsor Youth Centre is sounding the alarm, saying their future is in jeopardy. CTV's Robert Lothian has been following this story for us and joins us now. Robert, this is due to a major funding shortfall. How bad is it?
Stephanie, the Windsor Youth Centre says their financial position is nothing short of dire. They're in need of at least $200,000 over the next 11 months, and they're now turning to the public for help to keep their lights on.
Every single youth who comes in, we gather their first and last name,
The Windsor Youth Center considers itself a safe haven for young people in the region, providing those between 16 and 24 with essentials like food and hygiene items, as well as giving them a safe place to access services. So far this year, welcoming 15,000 people through its doors.
They come to us not knowing where else to go, not having any supports, and not knowing where to turn for a better future.
But creating a path for the future comes at a cost. On the back of fewer donations and a lack of government funding, officials are kickstarting the Vital Services for Vulnerable Youth funding initiative.
It is dire. We do want to keep all of the services of the Windsor Youth Center going. We don't want to reduce hours as we have had to in the past.
The WYC is in need of $100,000 by the end of the year, and that same amount again by June of 2026. They're calling on 10 community partners to make $10,000 donations towards each goal.
I think we're $200,000 away from worst case scenario. I'm confident that Windsor Essex will come in and join us and help us keep these young people safe.
For people like Michael Nichols, it changed his life's direction.
I was just hanging out with the wrong people at the wrong time, getting myself into trouble, trying to figure out how to set myself straight.
Now 30, Nichols is a volunteer giving back at the center.
I ended up going back there almost every day, finally realizing, wow, this is like a family.
Purchases and staff hours are currently being scaled back. Any further financial strain risks closing the Wyandotte building. But Marshawn warns youth need their own space separate from the downtown mission.
So without having a place like ours to be able to feel safe, feel secure, they will be stuck in that survival mode and they will fail to be able to thrive forward.
So far, funding has not impacted the levels of service here or their hours of operation. Officials note, though, it's only a matter of time before they have to start making those tough decisions. Stefanie.
Challenging times. Okay, Robert Lothian tonight. Thank you for this. In other news, a large emergency response this afternoon for a fire on Jeremiah Court.
The first arriving officer noticed that there was a significant smoke, upgraded the fire for further resources.
6 fire trucks, dozens of firefighters, along with police and EMS were on scene. Windsor Fire Chief Jamie Waffle says 4 people were inside the home when they noticed smoke coming from the backyard shed. And although the house is small, it was heavily involved. Waffle says an investigator is being called in to determine the cause, but the homeowners tell CTV News an electric lawnmower may have played a role. There were no injuries and the damage estimate has not been released. A third person has put his name forward to run in the Ward 2 by-election in Windsor. Helmi Sharif says this is his 7th time running for City Council. Sharif says roads, alleyways, public safety, transit, and vacant West End homes are some of his top priorities. Nick Amlin and Brian Green are also 2 other candidates. You can read about all of them at ctvnewswindsor.ca. The Ontario government is strengthening health care in Windsor Essex with a $1 million investment to expand nursing education at the University of Windsor. The funding will train up to 25 additional nurses by 2029, including registered nurses, practical nurses, and nurse practitioner to meet growing demand in hospitals, long-term care homes, and clinics. MPP Andrew Dowie says the move supports a strong and sustainable healthcare system. This follows a $750,000 investment in June to introduce RN prescribing education, making Ontario the first in Canada to offer it at the undergraduate level. It's all part of a province-wide $56.8 million plan to add over 2,000 nurses by 2029. A powerful new tribute stands along Windsor's waterfront, honoring the victims of impaired driving. Mad Canada and its local chapter unveiled a memorial garden today. It's a place designed for grieving families. CTV's Chris Campbell was there for the unveiling and joins us now. Chris.
Yes, Stefanie, as you can see, the space is not quite fully finished yet, but it will be a quiet space meant for reflection and one that carries with it a strong message. It's still a work in progress.
It's not fully done yet, but I'm saying by next year, once the trees mature, once the grass matures, we'll add some flowers.
But this new memorial garden is already sending a powerful message that impaired driving devastates lives.
It serves as a message to the general public that there is action to be taken against impaired driving.
Created by Mothers Against Drunk Driving Canada and its local Windsor Essex chapter, it's a space meant to honor lives lost to impaired driving and to remind others of the tragic consequences.
The location is amazing and really lends itself to tranquility and thoughtfulness so that victims and survivors have a place to really just spend a quiet moment thinking of their loved ones.
MAD Canada National President Tanya Hansen-Pratt, whose mother Beryl was killed by an impaired driver in 1999, made sure she was in Windsor for the event.
My mom's name is on a memorial in Manitoba, so I know what it's like to have a location for victims and survivors to come.
She says this garden is a reminder of what's at stake when someone chooses to drive after consuming alcohol, cannabis, or other drugs.
It's really important to be able to come to a place like this and to remember our loved ones and to know that they'll always be remembered.
National statistics show an average of 215 impaired driving-related charges or suspensions are laid in Canada every day, according to MAD Canada. But for families who've lost loved ones, they're more than numbers. They're preventable tragedies.
And we hope people are getting the message. I know it seems like a younger generation is getting that message from what we see and we hear anecdotally, and that's good news. We have to have everyone get that message. It's not acceptable, not tolerated.
Support for the memorial came from several local partners, including Caesars Windsor, St. Clair College, and the Windsor Port Authority, which made the waterfront space possible.
The increase in awareness in the efforts to bring greater attention to this matter, can never end. It's never sufficient.
This garden has been about 10 years in the making. Organizers say they hope the next step will be to install a memorial wall listing the names of those whose lives have been lost or impacted due to impaired driving, and also a gazebo, a place to sit and remember. Stephanie?
Okay, Chris Campbell tonight. Thank you for this. In other news, rural residents in Ontario are being told the flag on their mailbox will no longer be raised by carriers, even though it's a practice that has been in place for decades. CTV's Katie Griffin has more.
The postman comes, puts the mail inside, closes the door, and brings this up.
For many, that's the way it's been in rural areas for years. Not anymore.
Whether it's to save time or money, I'm not sure, but it's not doing the workers nor the corporation any good.
David Carrier received a letter from Canada Post indicating delivery agents would no longer raise the flag on mailboxes when mail is delivered.
And it seems a little bit odd that given it a time when Canada Post is struggling to survive and wanting large raises and wanting to gain more of the market share, that they're going to offer less service and less convenience to the public when they deliver their mail.
A resident in Somerstown near Cornwall received this handwritten note from a carrier saying they were no longer allowed to raise the flag. So sorry, please check box regularly. In a letter to rural customers, Canada Post said after a review it was determined that the purpose of the signal device was for the customer to indicate to the delivery agent that there was outgoing mail. Canada Post writes in a statement that the flag is not meant to inform customers mail is in the mailbox. It acknowledged some do it as a courtesy, but that it is not a national delivery process. For Carrier, it doesn't make sense.
I've spent my whole life living rurally, and I don't know of very many people who put mail outgoing and use that indicator. But a lot of people here have a half-a-mile laneway, and they look out, they don't see a flag, they don't go out. If they see the flag, they go out. So a lot of these people are older, and it takes some effort to go out and get that mail.
Katie Griffin, CTV News.
They look real, but they're not. AI wildfire images sparking fear, confusion, and concern from officials. That's still ahead on Windsor's News Leader. Litter lockdown. When we return, the new high-tech trash bins coming to downtown Windsor. And tomorrow, a major boost to local health care. New surgical and diagnostic facilities coming to Windsor. Details tomorrow at 6 on CTV News. Experts are weighing in following a series of AI-generated photos of wildfires being shared online. The concern is this rise in misinformation will only get worse during emergencies. CTV's Isabella Zaverzais reports.
Captivating images of wildfires. The photos so realistic that those in charge of wildfire management are worried they could impact how people respond to natural disasters.
People might make decisions based on those images, or be more fearful because of those images, or not take our warning seriously.
The photos are generated by artificial intelligence. The BC Wildfire Service says it noticed them in the last few weeks on Facebook during the peak of the wildfire season.
Wildfires are already, or can be, a really scary time for people. There can be a lot of anxiety around that. People can be unsure about what to do or what's happening. So anytime that we see potentially adding more fear or anxiety when it's not needed, we're concerned about that.
This is an AI image of the Drought Hill wildfire in Peachland. Here's what it actually looks like.
Often the images that we've seen are making the fires that they're purporting to be about look way worse than they are in reality.
In January, as wildfires tore through Los Angeles, AI images of the iconic Hollywood sign engulfed in flames were shared online.
You know, it's irresponsible for people to put out these types of images. You can be costing people's lives because of putting out fake news like that.
One UBC scientist says he worries AI will be misused.
I predict that, it's only going to become harder from here. That the use of these technologies will become much more pervasive because it's becoming accessible and the models are only getting better. And I think the awareness and the education around these should really be happening right now.
So the message that I have to British Columbians is please be cautious of where you get your information. Be aware of AI-generated content.
The province is urging people to turn to trusted sources of information instead, such as local media, governments, and First Nations. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
September is Suicide Prevention Month, and the Windsor-Essex County branch of the Canadian Mental Health Association is sharing its plans to mark their 10th anniversary.
Our goal this month is to raise $50,000 to fund life-changing support services. Every dollar helps us reach more people who are hurting and in need of support. Every dollar helps ensure that no one has to grieve in silence and in isolation like I once had to.
A suicide awareness 2 and 5 kilometer walk is scheduled to take place at 3 different locations: at the St. Clair College Sportsplex in Windsor, the Atlas Tube Recreation Center in Bell River, and St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Leamington. According to Statistics Canada, over 4,500 Canadians die by suicide every year. That's 12 lives lost every day.
Losing him 15 years ago shattered me. There are no words to describe what happens in your body when you experience that kind of loss.
Our message is clear. Help is here, hope is real, and healing is possible.
Moving out, landing a job, getting married, and having kids for decades. Those were the classic steps into adulthood. Back in 1975, nearly half of 25 to 34-year-olds had checked off all 4 of those boxes. Fast forward 50 years later, and that number has dropped sharply. According to the U.S. Census, less than a quarter of young adults today have hit those same milestones. The shift, well, experts say it's not just changing values, it's rising costs. From housing and food to gas and healthcare, many young adults are now putting economic stability before starting a family. So let's hear from you. What do you consider to be the top life milestone for a young adult? Moving out of their parents' home, getting a job, getting married, or having kids? Go to our website to cast your vote, ctvnewswindsor.ca. Yesterday, we asked if you have ever been the victim of an e-transfer scam. Almost 600 people voted. 4% of them say yes. The City of Windsor is launching the next phase of its Strengthening the Core Downtown Revitalization Plan with the first of its kind installation in Canada. This August, Windsor will begin installing new waste enclosures designed for high-traffic urban areas. Building on the success of Curb the Trash and Windsor's electric street vacuums, these smart stations are a one-way deposit system to keep litter contained. The pilot project will focus on the downtown core. And this is the weekend the Leamington Raceway opens its half-mile harness racing track. The horses run every Sunday in August, September, and October at the Leamington Fairgrounds. Post time for all races is 1:30. Fans can expect free parking and free admission. Canada's main stock index closed down today while American markets were mixed. In Toronto, the TSX fell 160 points. In New York, the Dow dropped 224, the Nasdaq gained 73, the Canadian dollar down 0.04 cents. On commodity markets, gold gained more than $20 an ounce and oil lost 47 cents a barrel. Silent scars. What is worse for a child, verbal abuse or physical abuse? The answer may surprise you. That's still ahead.
Let's look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Anthony Daniel for sending in this great image. Will sunshine and the warmer than seasonal temperature trend continue? We'll find out next. My forecast coming up.
Another warm day. Gary joins me again for an extended look. Gary.
Some cloud, but for the most part, it's fair weather in terms of the variety across southern Ontario. Temperatures and humidity values up a bit today. So it's been a warm day and a bit humid, no doubt, but seasonal. I mean, a couple of degrees above the averages. Today reaching a high of about 29. Our average is closer to 27. The overnights have been warm, and there have been some vicinity showers and thunderstorms, most of it in Michigan or in Indiana or Ohio, so near us, but nothing really significant has penetrated our airspace. A little bit cooler in Chatham-Kent, down to 25 degrees, has 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 or 82. In Windsor, with mostly sunny conditions, feels like about 33. It feels like 30 in Chatham-Kent. And it will be a warm evening, but generally speaking, a quiet one. Most of the warmth is in the Great Lakes region and a little bit further north, although Thunder Bay technically is right on the cusp of the Great Lakes Basin, Lake Superior, of course, so it is part of the Great Lakes region. 30 degrees there. It's warmer in Thunder Bay than it is here or in Toronto, but the showers and thunderstorms, the disturbance stays north of Lake Superior and heads east. A couple of flaring up thunderstorms in eastern Michigan probably will cross over Lake Huron over the next couple of hours and affect the eastern shores. The next wave of activity, it's really scattered and likely not going to impact us over the next 24 to 48 hours. Again, in Michigan proper or to the north and east of us. Tonight, the air quality improves a bit more, so that's some good news. No advisories in place. 25 degrees at 8 o'clock, feels like 30. The winds are calm through to tonight at 10 o'clock. 22 feels like 27. Clear at midnight. 21 warm degrees, feels like 27 to start things early for Friday. Take a look at our Sal's heating and cooling 7-day forecast, calling for sunshine Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Temperatures will range between 29 to about 31, feeling like 35 plus. And the overnight lows are in the 20s. Showers possible Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll go from 31 down to about 27. And most of the rains are relatively light. We're not in for a good soaking anytime soon.
Lifetime, brought to you by Safeguard Medical Alert Systems.
The provincial government has reportedly come to an agreement with the Ontario Medical Association on a new fee schedule. However, it's not official just yet. CTV's Pauline Chan has more on the still contentious issues.
We've been working on the deal for more than a year with the government to really ensure that every Ontarian has a family doctor.
OMA CEO Kimberly Moran says agreement has been reached on some key issues, particularly the heavy administrative workload carried by comprehensive family care practitioners.
It's grown dramatically in the last number of years, and that it wasn't compensated for properly. And so to understand what clinical administration is, it could be, for example, that a family doctor needs to refer you for knee surgery. But they want to make sure that they want to refer you to a surgeon that specializes in the problem that you have.
Under the new agreement called FHO Plus, doctors would be able to bill for tasks such as doing patients' charts, time spent reviewing test results, and filling out various forms. But will more money for doctors mean more doctors for the 2 million Ontario residents currently without primary care? Moran says of the 15,000 Ontario physicians trained in family medicine, only 9,000 currently work full-time in their specialty. The rest work in areas like emergency medicine.
The government is working on a number of initiatives that will help retain and attract family doctors.
Today, Health Minister Sylvia Jones refused to reveal any more details about the deal with the OMA.
What I will tell you is that we have seen some very positive movement in terms of working with the OMA and other partners to make sure that as we expand our primary care opportunities, the physicians are well respected and get appropriate compensation for that.
There's just a couple of remaining items that the arbitration board is going to decide on, and we're expecting to hear back from them in the fall.
Moran hopes the new deal will encourage more student doctors to choose family practice as their specialty. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A new study confirms verbal abuse during childhood has an impact similar to physical abuse. According to the journal BMJ Open, people who experienced physical abuse as a child were at a 50% increased risk of reporting low mental health in adulthood compared with those with no abuse. Those who experienced verbal abuse had a 60% increase in likelihood of low well-being. Authors also say verbal abuse in the U.S. families increased while physical abuse has declined. Verbal abuse includes blaming, insulting, criticizing, or threatening children. And a new study suggests kids and young adults who spend too much time staring at screens have a greater chance of developing cardiovascular diseases. Danish researchers tracked the screen and sleep habits of more than 1,000 10 and 18-year-olds. They found those who spent excessive hours in front of electronic devices were at higher risk for mental health issues such as high blood pressure and high cholesterol, as well as diabetes and insulin resistance. Their analysis found that each additional hour of daily screen time increased the risk of disease. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you have a story idea, comment, or question? Text us at 10400. You can also send photos and video as well.
And up next, our very first What's Up YQG, featuring free fun, county fairs, comedy for a cause, and me, Johnny Parks.
Pure Country 89, Windsor's country music station. Pure access to the biggest stars and the hottest songs. Download the free iHeartRadio app to listen to Pure Country everywhere.
A significant change is coming to the Aeroplan rewards program starting next year. Instead of earning based on your flight distance, your points earned will be calculated based on the total dollars spent. Matt Foran has more on the impact for points collectors.
Starting on January 1st, Aeroplan will overhaul the way its members earn points, and the biggest change means you'll earn based on how much you spend instead of how far you go. Phil McCulley is a frequent flyer and has been an Aeroplan member for the past 20 years. He's concerned business travelers buying more expensive tickets will see the greatest benefits.
But it absolutely benefits people who travel on the max fare class. So people who fly business everywhere are disproportionately benefiting from this program than people who travel, let's say, like a lower fare class.
The majority of our members are going to be better off than they were before.
Air Canada says the changes to the loyalty program will benefit those who engage with the airline and its partners the most. Starting in the new year, you'll earn 1 Aeroplan point per dollar spent. In 2 examples on Air Canada's website, it states if you book a flight between Toronto and Montreal with a base fare of $427, you'll earn 427 Aeroplan points. In another example, if you booked a round trip from Montreal to Paris and the base fare is $1,500, under the current plan you would receive almost 7,000 points, but under the new plan you'll receive 1,500 Aeroplan points. The more you pay, the more points you'll get.
It can't be seen as a positive, but it can't be seen as negative either. It really comes down to the individual, whether these changes are good for you or not.
Rewards Canada, a website that studies loyalty programs, says those who pay more for expensive flights will achieve elite status faster and rack up more points than those who are searching for bargains.
The more you spend with the airline, the more you're going to be rewarded, whether it's elite status or with points earning as well.
The changes are also more in line with other airlines that have also moved to revenue-based models. Pat Foran, CTV News.
As our viewers and listeners are aware, Hannah Witherby is on maternity leave, but no need to worry. Johnny Parks from 93.9 Virgin Radio is joining us for a new segment happening every Thursday called What's Up YQG. Thank you for joining our team.
Thank you. I'm terrified but happy to be here.
Okay, so what's going on this weekend?
So, Pride Fest wraps up this weekend, and there's plenty to do, including Pride in the Park on Saturday at Lansbury Park. That's completely free with food, vendors, live performances happening from 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then the Pride Parade, of course, happening on Sunday. That's on Ottawa Street, starting at 11, and I'll be there with the Virgin Radio team. Our theme this year? Pink Pony Club.
Okay, so I'm picturing pink, frilly cowboy hats, maybe?
Oh, sure. And why not some hot pink boots to go with it? You can find more Pride events at WePrideFest.com.
Okay, it's also going to be a fun weekend out in the county.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of cowboy boots, the 166th Comber Fair kicks off tomorrow morning at 8 and goes until Sunday afternoon. There is so much to do as a part of this. You got the food, the rides, the games, obviously, but even stuff like wrestling, demolition derbies, fireworks, and a baby contest. I don't even know what a baby contest is, but I do think that Hannah should enter her baby next year.
I'm sure the Wither baby will be able to take home a ribbon in any contest.
Knowing Hannah, that's definitely true. I'm more like the sounds of the pie eating contest myself, but the whole event lineup and info is at comberfair.com.
Okay, and there is a very cool free event in Sandwichtown on Sunday, and we love a free.
Always. This is called the Community Barbecue and Paint Jam. This is part of the Free for All Walls Festival put on by local street artist Denial. You've probably seen his stuff around town. They're going to paint a 100-foot-long mural with 13 artists in one afternoon with free barbecue food generously provided by the Sandwichtown BIA and Barrel House, which is where it's going to be. They're going to have live music too, giveaways all day, and that is happening Sunday at 2 o'clock in Sandwichtown.
Okay, will you be doing any art?
I don't think anyone wants to see that. I don't really have the talent for it, but I'm always down for free barbecue.
Okay, and finally, if you're looking to do something tonight, there is a comedy show and for a good cause.
Yeah, this is great. It's comedy at the Tipsy Toucan on Ottawa Street. The event's called Funny Friends of Jen, and it's to raise money for a recovery from a devastating house fire that local comedian Jen Richardson just experienced. So that is actually tonight at 8 at the Tipsy Toucan. If you haven't been, really cool basement in there for comedy shows. Tickets are at windsorlaughs.com.
Okay, so much to do this weekend.
I know, there always is in the summertime in Windsor.
Okay, thank you for joining us and see you next Thursday.
We'll see. If I did okay this time, then yeah, maybe you'll have me back, sure.
You're a pro.
Okay, good.
I like you.
Unscripted, unpredictable, and unapologetic. Wake up with Hannah and Johnny on 93.9 Virgin Radio.
This is your CTV Windsor, our community calendar. Come together and show your colors at the 2025 Windsor Essex Pride Fest, August 8th to the 10th at Lansbury Park. See you next time on Our Community.
It's time to check in on what's happening now with Ricardo Vanessa. And Ricardo, you have more for us tonight on a terrorism conviction.
Yeah, Stefanie, a young Windsor man has been convicted of terrorism and is now set for a sentencing hearing this fall. Seth Bertrand is now 22 years old. When he was 19, he applied to join a group on Canada's list of known terrorist groups. His lawyer, Bobby Russin, says a conviction for applying to join but not act on the group's behalf is precedent-setting. Russin says there aren't a lot of terrorism convictions or sentences in Canada as the legislation is relatively new. And in this case, Russin says there won't be much case law for him to use as he tries to come up with a sentence request for Justice Maria Caracia.
I don't know of any case where an accused's actual act was as low on the bar of criminality and was convicted of a terrorism offense. That doesn't mean it's not serious. It's extremely serious.
Well, we've got those details and, of course, much more online at ctvnewswindsor.ca.
And we also have an online story. Residents in Stoney Point now have access to a temporary library.
Yeah, that new branch opened today next to the Stoney Point Community Park. As we've previously reported on, the former temporary library closed earlier this year due to air quality issues. Now, this new library is inside a 720-square-foot rental unit that offers full accessibility and access to the park. You can read about that and the long-term options the municipality of Lakeshore is exploring over at our website. And in our social spotlight tonight, a sign from the heavens, the Hulkster is resting easy. These pictures being shared widely on social media showing a cloud grouping, maybe you can see it there, that looks suspiciously like Hulk Hogan's famous pose with one arm out in the air with the other arm in that famous bicep curl, looking strong, maybe a sign that Hulk Hogan continues to hit the mat from up above. I think if you squint closely, you can see it.
Yeah, what's even more amazing about this, those photos captured during his funeral. Incredible.
Yeah, pretty incredible. He's watching down.
Okay. Thank you, Ricardo. And that's what's happening now. Despite cross-border tensions, a powerful moment of unity. Canadians and Americans meet on the bridge to shake hands.
The latest news your day.
Interviews, conversations with the top officials, the difference makers, and personalities in Windsor Essex.
Only on Windsor Essex #1 morning show.
It's Mornings with Mike and Meg on AM 800.
A beautiful day and more sunshine to come the next couple of days.
I was in the West End, and yeah, flowers are blooming, and of course the bees and wasps are quite active. You may have noticed that they tend to get somewhat agitated in high heat and humidity. They start to forage a bit more, so that's one of the well, for some drawbacks of the summer season. We're reaching the peak as we look at temperatures still above seasonal with sunshine Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Low 30s, 30 to 31, feeling like 35 plus. And then cloudiness. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will go from 31 down to 26 over that 4-day stretch. And I anticipate some showers and even some thunderstorms. But the next 3 days are going to be hot and humid.
Okay, thank you, Gary. And as you know, the trade war with the U.S. has increased tensions along our border. But two towns, one in New Brunswick, the other in Maine, are hugging it out, carrying on a summertime tradition during trying times. CTV's Nick Moore has the story.
The Canadians came from their side, the Americans from their side, meeting in the middle to sing their national anthems, shake hands, and then mingle.
This has been a long tradition.
There was a lot of hugging, too. We Hug It Out is actually the theme for this year's International Homecoming Festival between St. Stephen, New Brunswick and Calais, Maine. leaning into these interesting times.
And it's just good to get back and understand that we are one community, and it's good to see that we are one community.
We have a lot of family on both sides, and to have us all together, it's just heartwarming.
The meet and greet on the Ferry Point International Bridge has kicked off this festival since 1974, and organizers weren't quite sure what to expect for 2025 given the trade war.
To have people come out from both sides of the border to celebrate this occasion, especially this year, I just think there was a lot of questions how things would go, but I'm just so pleased.
It's certainly a nice salve to some of the frustrations and challenges we've been feeling.
New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt and Maine State Representative Arthur Mingo were some of the dignitaries who took part.
These are two communities that we need to make sure that the friendship stays in place no matter what's happening in other parts of the world.
It's just nostalgia. It's something I've always known and something I hope keeps going.
It's great to see people of all ages, and just seeing us all get along is amazing.
It's a really fantastic event for everybody in the community.
The International Homecoming Festival continues until Sunday night with fireworks over the St. Croix River. Nick Moore, CTV News, on the border of Calais, Maine, St. Stephen, New Brunswick.
As you heard, New Brunswick and Maine, I think an event like that here would be very successful.
Oh, I agree. Maybe a Detroit Windsor t-shirt. I'd love that cake with the U.S.-Canada flag. Yeah, right.
Yeah, especially during these times, you know, a lot of tension, as we mentioned, and what better way to lift spirits on both sides of our border.
We should have a Gordie Howe U.S.-Canada shirt and flag as well.
Yeah. And that big day is coming up soon, the opening. Okay, on behalf of our dedicated team here at CTV News Windsor, thank you for watching.
We'll be back with your only late local newscast at 11.
Good night.
Good night.